Good morning, afternoon, everyone. My name is Harmanpreet Singh, and today I will be exploring a fascinating question: how do our genes, minds, and environment work together to shape who we are? Specifically, we will dive into how biological, psychological, and social factors, collectively called biopsychosocial factors, influence our personality trait. Let's get started. So, right now, we will discuss about personality psychology. So, personality psychology helps us understand why people behave the way they do. Traits like openness to new experiences, extraversion, and emotional stability aren't just quirks, they impact our mental health, relationships, and even career paths. But where do these traits come from? Research tells us they are shaped by a mix of genetics and environment, and today we will analyze two studies, and one experimental and one non experimental, to unpack this interplay. Before we dive into the studies, let's clarify the methods. So basically, we took two methods, which are experimental research and non experimental research. The experimental research is basically studies from like a lab experiment where scientists manipulate variables to find cause and effect relationships. Think of it as a controlled what if scenario. On the other hand, non experimental research observes real world data without interference, revealing correlation. But both approaches are powerful. They just answer different type of question. Today we will see examples of both in action. Our first study is titled The Genetics of Human Personality, led by Dr. Sandra Sanchez Rogue at UC San Diego. Published in the journal Genes, Brain, and Behavior in 2017, this study asked how much do our genes influence personality. To answer this, the team analyzed genetics data from thousands of people worldwide, focusing on traits like neuroticism and extraversion. Here's how they did it. They collected data from large genetic databases, including twins and families, and used personality questionnaires based on the Big Five model. They measured heritability, how much genes explain differences in traits, and used polygenic scoring to link tiny genetic variations to personality. Importantly, they didn't manipulate any variables. This was purely observational. The results were striking. Personality traits are 30 to 60% heritable. For example, neuroticism is about 48% influenced by genes. There's a genetic overlap between traits like neuroticism and psychiatric disorders such as depression. No single personality genes exist; instead, thousands of tiny genetic nudges work together. This study underscores that biology isn't destiny, but it displays a major role in who we are. In the further slides 8 and 9, here are much information in detail about these studies, which we can refer to. Now let's switch gears to an experimental study titled Personality Attributions in Workplace Bullying by Dr. Stale, Pelson, and colleagues. Published in Frontiers in Psychology in 2017, this study asked how do we judge the personalities of bullies and their targets. To find out, they created fictional workplace scenarios and observed how people reacted. Here's the experiment. 242 psychology students read one of three workplace scenarios: a bully, a target, or a neutral interaction. Afterwards, They rated the personalities of the characters using traits like neuroticism and agreeableness. The researchers used MANOVA, a, a statistical tool, to compare groups and test their hypotheses. Do we stereotype bullies and targets based on personalities? The slide 12 explain have the bulletin point to explain further questions and findings from this scenario. The findings were eye-opening. Targets of bullying were seen as more neurotic and less extroverted. Bullies scored lowest in agreeableness and conscientiousness, traits linked to empathy and responsibility. Openness to experience, however, didn't differ between groups. This shows how social contexts like workplace dynamics shape how we perceive other personalities, even if those perceptions aren't always accurate. To synthesize the two studies, what's the big picture? Both studies highlight the biopsychosocial model. Biology explains about half of our personality through genes. Social contexts like being labeled a bully or target influence how others judge us. Understanding this interplay helps us tackle mental health stigma, improve workplace culture, and appreciate the complexity of human behavior. For those interested, the full citations are here. Both studies are peer reviewed and available online. Thank you for your attention. I hope this talk has shown how interconnected our biology, psychology, and social worlds truly are. I would love to hear your thoughts or questions. Feel free to reach out afterward as well. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.